Well, thank you and good evening. My name is Shannon Hardin, Columbus City Council member, co-chair of the My Brothers Keepers Task Force, and thank you so much for coming and convening for our first meeting of 2016. Want to thank everyone around the table for your engagement last year. 2015 was eventful. And I'm proud of the work that each and every one of us did, the work that we really put into to convening a community conversation about supporting young boys of color throughout our community. You guys were there when we pulled together over the summer over 500 young boys of color and asked them what could we do as a community to support them. You guys were there when we engaged 150 community members to lead those conversations. You guys were there when we engaged countless service organizations to talk about, convene, stack hands, and move forward together on initiatives to support this demographic. And we did good work. We came up with a report that was released at the end of the year in October. October 14th to be exact. We had great turnout, great community turnout, and great community interest. And I said then that we would have failed ourselves and the young boys, the community that we serve, if that's all that happens, is we put out a report. So fast forward, we had some elections to get through. We had, I told somebody that everybody that was downtown in the city and our partners who were transitioning out have transitioned. Those who are coming on have come on, and now we can get back to work. And so that is where we are, and that's why I wanted to convene this task force again, to let you all know, let the community know, and most importantly, let our young men in our community know that we still have work to do. That all that we have done so far is to get a guide of where we are going. And so that's why we're coming together, because we have our recommendations, 5 recommendations that have several recommendations under that, sub-recommendations I call them. And really good pointing, good direction that we can pick from, pull from, and move forward. We said all along that we wanted the administration, the city, the community really to get behind one theme of all the recommendations, so that we could get some real momentum behind a recommendation, and at the end of the year have a success, something that we could physically goal and then check by the end of the year. I wanted to have this meeting today to help start to funnel in and point towards what that community conversation, that community theme could be. We've had conversations with a lot of our stakeholders over the last several weeks, and there's a theme of mentorship is coming up. I've said to a lot of folks, and talking to Mayor Ginther, talking to our past co-chair, Mayor Coleman, that we're looking for small wins to build to big wins. And we get to those small wins and big wins by leveraging on work that's already happening throughout our community. There is a wind of collaboration and spirit behind mentorship going on, and I think this is something that we can jump on, we can get in front of. We as a task force can support and can champion if we so choose. And so that's the conversation that I kind of want to have this evening, see if that is amenable to everyone. Hear about some of the neat things that are happening throughout the community already that we can leverage on, and kind of just figure out our next steps, so that we know that in 2016 work will be done, and really to solicit your specific support for how we move forward. One of the things, and when we think about mentorship and when we have a larger community conversation around mentorship and the deep dive, it's thinking about mentorship from young youth, elementary, middle school, all the way to young adult. That goes from in school, out of school, all the way to apprenticeship, mentorship, and job training. It's all types of mentorship. one of our last programs, actually probably the last gathering that we had as MBK was December, when we pulled together a group of service providers with us to not just the support, but really the encouragement, the leadership of the Columbus building trades to have a conversation about apprenticeships, that we have spots in our community for young folks that are not being filled. How can we as a community support, encourage, and get our young guys into these programs? It was an extremely fruitful conversation. I think everybody in the room was energized with the possibilities of us working together to get our guys in these programs. One such program is the EPAT program, the Electrical Pre-Apprentice Training Program, that Miss Julie Macy. I was almost had it this close. Right? No, I didn't. Is going to talk about. Thank you so much, Miss Julie, and I'll get up and say a few more words after you hear a little bit more about this program and kind of challenge that we want to put out to folks. But I'll turn it over to Miss Julie to kind of give a high-level overview of what this program is.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here this evening to speak about our EPAT program, which, as Councilmember Hardin mentioned, is the Electrical Pre-Apprenticeship Training Program that will be run by the Electrical Trade Center, which is the training arm for the IBW and NECA here in Central Ohio. And to dovetail on what Councilmember Hardin said, this is a big win, not only for us, but for my brother's keeper. We've been fortunate enough to obtain a grant through our National Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee, and we've been chosen one out of 13 programs throughout the United States to run a pre-apprenticeship program. These pre-apprenticeship programs will be a 5-year program where we will be providing training for 25 individuals, or excuse me, 5 groups of 25 over the next 5 years. So this timing couldn't have been more perfect to partner with my brother's keeper to really provide opportunities for your young men and women to have that opportunity for an apprenticeship opportunity and an opportunity to get a good living wage and benefits. Our program, we're looking at starting right around April 1st. So we're looking for the task force here and the individuals working with my brother's keepers to hopefully send us individuals that are looking for that apprenticeship opportunity, or wanting a good opportunity for to learn how to become an electrician. We are looking for, again, about 25 individuals. Our pre-apprenticeship program will be a 300-hour training program that will lead individuals directly into working for one of our contractors. So they will complete their classroom training, their hands-on training. We'll provide them with stipends as they're going throughout their training. We'll provide them with work boots and tools so that they have everything that they need to actually be successful in the workforce. And if they meet the academic and attendance requirements, they will go to work with one of our contractors, making just under $11 an hour plus benefits. And the whole idea is that that is going to be a stepping stone from the pre-apprenticeship, the EPAT program, directly into our apprenticeship program, which is a 5-year program. And individuals completing our 5-year program, they're looking at roughly $65,000, $70,000 a year plus benefits. So again, couldn't be better timing. I think that this is just an outstanding opportunity for my brother's keeper, and we're here to support the initiatives that you all work so hard to to start, and we hope that this is a long-lasting relationship.
Well, thank you, Julie. So when we met in December, like I said, there was a lot of energy around the room. This is an exciting opportunity, not just for MBK, but really for our city, that we are part of this program. As you can see, so two things. One, this is an example of how we can leverage, partner with, and get small wins to get some of our young boys into good programs. This is an amazing opportunity. The thing is, and we talked about this at the meeting, if you look at the requirements, the requirements are tough, very, very tough. And so I made the analogy at our December meeting that I have about 6, 7 cousins that first come to mind when I hear this program, but in reality, I know my one cousin that I would recommend because I know that he could get through this. And even me recommending him, I know that I would have to be a support to him to get him through the program. And so my ask is not that we just blindly throw this out or send this out to our networks and kind of let it float. My ask is to take seriously the requirements. Talk to either in your organizations, your networks, with service providers, and let's try to find the right individual for these programs. If we get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, those are 6 huge, small, huge wins for folks. And the ask is not just get them to the program, it's to be the support to get them through the program, understanding the long-term potential benefits of a program like this.
I don't know if this is a
Probably.
Julie or Councilmember Hardin. So looking at some of the requirements and knowing that the goal of this task force is to reach out to young men and to individuals with the highest amount of barriers, I have some questions about the requirements. I think some clarification, and that's easily addressed, in editing marketing materials. But I also think that the task force should really think about, number one, what is going to be the process? So if a young man says, you know what, I'm interested in this, if they're seeing this flyer, there's probably a lot of them that would just look at it and say, oh, I don't even qualify, crumple it up, here's one more thing that doesn't work for me. So I think if there's something that we can do either through partner organizations where the kind of intake process for this, comes through a specific point person, so that instead of seeing this on paper and someone's not even going to engage, they may engage, and then, if someone's going through with them in person, hopefully, because I think a lot of this is going to hinge on if there's trust between, young men in the community and the individuals implementing the program. So if they don't have the algebra credit, where exactly do we send them that's easy for them to go to, so they can try to complete it? Because, I think we should offer this, but also understand that, if we really, as part of this task force, want to reach a key audience, we have to provide some really specific pathways and make it, pretty easy. And, so I think, really clearly defining what does a positive work history mean? Is that one job that you've had for 6 months? I think we need to be as specific as possible and make sure that that intake process doesn't turn off, people who may be engaged. Does that?
And I hear your concerns. This is very new to all of us. So this is kind of a work in progress. And it was our goal to have members of the task force or a subcommittee of the task force to get together and address some of your very, same questions. Because we realize that, just as you said, if someone looks at this, well, I don't have that, so, they're not even going to attempt it. We are waiting for additional information from our NJTC to come down with different program materials, things like that, where we hope to be able to roll that out to that subcommittee and work together on what the best possible intake procedure is going to be. And just to address your algebra credit question, we can work through some of those issues. There is what we call tech math that's embedded into the pre-apprenticeship program that will meet the algebra credit. We do intend, as a part of the intake procedure, doing a work keys assessment for individuals. So we will be setting some benchmark scores that an individual should meet, because our curriculum is very rigorous. Our National Electric Code is written at a 14th grade reading level. When they get into the apprenticeship program, they're not only looking at Algebra 1, but trigonometry as well. So we don't want to set someone up to fail. So, ideally, we do want someone that has that math foundation, but there are things that we can do to get them there.
Okay, and then one final follow-up, and I think that that's good. Are there opportunities then in the future to make sure that an organization like mine, like Boys and Girls Clubs, is aligning some of the work that we're doing as early as, 13, 14, 15 years old, so that, 5, 10 years from now, maybe there's a better pipeline? Are there opportunities to kind of work together to develop
Absolutely.
that? Okay.
And, that is our long-term goal, is to establish relationships even beyond, the EPAP program, so that there is that viable pipeline for individuals, for all of your organizations. We want to be there. We're not going anywhere. So, if you look at over the next several years, we're looking at losing about 25% of our workforce to retirement. So we need to be able to provide and think out of the box for how we're going to fill those positions. And this is just one of those ideas through pre-apprenticeship that's going to help us get to that goal. And it's going to help individuals that maybe didn't have that strong education background, give us an opportunity to get individuals where they need to be.
How long is the pre-apprenticeship program?
The pre-apprenticeship program is 300 classroom hours, and then if they meet the academic and attendance requirements, they will be offered that on-the-job training, and that is yes.
And so do they have to really meet this criteria for the pre-apprenticeship, or do they really need to meet this criteria once they go into the formal apprenticeship program?
Probably the latter there. I mean, ideally, we would like someone that has that foundation.
You want people to know what they're getting into,
Yes.
but they could work towards this.
Exactly.
So, for example, under Must Be Drug-Free, you're not going to do a test for the pre-apprenticeship program, but once they get employed, then there may be a pre-employment drug test.
Exactly. And our program is very different than some of the other building trades apprenticeship programs. We have our own pre-apprenticeship program called the Construction Wireman Program. So we have an outlet for individuals that aren't there academically, so that they're not just completing the program. You don't qualify for the apprenticeship program, you're done. So we have an avenue for them that will keep them employed, keep them, accruing benefits, and moving towards that goal of getting into the apprenticeship program. So we really look at this as a stepping stone, and we have other stepping stones to help individuals along the way.
Julie, I'm sorry. Were these criteria set by the grantor, or were they locally established?
Locally established, we have been providing pre-apprenticeship opportunities through various funding sources for about 6 years now, and these are a culmination of some of the criteria that we've used in other programs and what it takes to get into our apprenticeship program. So if these are things that, as a group, you decide that that these are not doable, then we can sit down and reevaluate and come up with a consensus so that we're all successful. Now, I mean, there's things that some things we can't budge on, but, we can sit down and go through these, so that it's going to meet everyone's needs.
Would I be correct in assuming that other trades may be less rigorous when it comes to mathematics than what the electrical trade would be? So if we were able to get mobilize some people in maybe masonry or even in plumbing or carpentry, their mathematics skills may not necessarily need to be as high as what you would have. So it would just be getting a different group of kids that maybe did a little better in math, and then maybe if we can mobilize the other trades, we can hit the other groups that didn't do so well in math.
And we, through and unfortunately Dorsey couldn't be here this evening, but through the building trades, we are trying to reach out to the other building trades to get them on board to do programs like this. Unfortunately, right now, we're the only ones that have jumped on board. We have the funding source right now. So the hope is that we start to show some success through programs like this, and then it's only going to be a natural fit for the other trades to come on board.
Since we're looking at helping to recruit for this program, when is the deadline for someone to apply? And that would help us figure out, what all we need to do to prepare.
Unfortunately, I don't have a deadline yet. The goal is to start this program the first week in April. But because this is all new, that date is a moving target. So, we would like to have all of the recruiting done by, the second or third week in March. But, to be able to do that, we're going to have to make some commitments as a group to meet on a regular basis and identify the barriers for individuals and come up with something that we can all live with. So I guess, unfortunately, I can't give you a hard answer.
No, I just didn't know if it was like the fall so that's helpful. Thank you.
We want this program to start this spring because work for us looks very good this summer. So it's a great opportunity we know that we're going to have opportunities for individuals in this program. So time is kind of essence for us to get moving so that, the worst thing that we can do is have a program and then not have any work for individuals.
Shannon, can we as a task force, because I think this is fantastic, but can we also put on our agenda to identify a companion to this that allows our young men to explore other pathways into apprenticeship, perhaps looking at other industry and other ways in which they can engage with the workforce as a companion to this? Because what I want to make sure we're communicating is that this is one pathway towards success in self-sustaining life, right? And there's a wide array of additional pathways. And so I think it would be good for this task force to offer some of that selection.
I think so. That's a great point. And as we are talking about this program, as we hear from Keisha and she talks about kind of the district's goals for this year, I want us to be thinking from the mindset of, and how do we get these things done? How, using the resources we have around this table, do we get these things done? When we came together as a task force, this is not just a think tank, but we come to put ideas out there. We always say that one of the next things that we will have to do is to pull together an implementation subcommittee or group that can help us execute those things. As we have this opportunity in front of us, there are challenges in terms of addressing the barriers, but there are so many opportunities here as well. I see an opportunity with the city stepping up. We've done this before. We've put folks coming from challenging backgrounds into programs that folks say that no one could get them into. It's called the Restoration Academy. And we have people in the city who come from those backgrounds, who are paid by the city when folks said that we couldn't do it, working right now for the city. So I think that if we, again, take the step back and say, how do we move from thinking about to implementing, and then, at the end of this, and who would want to be a part of something like that. I think that's kind of the framework of how we think about this program, how we think about what we're going to hear from Keisha, and put forth our other ideas going forward.
That I was thinking about, and Julie, you may not know, but what the interview process would look like. So say somebody applies, and do they interview with a team of folks through the program? And if that's the case, then maybe something as a task force, we can look at working with these young men to help prepare them for the interview, do mock interviews, help them with resumes, something to get them off on a good start. And we have agencies that do that kind of work that could probably help us with that.
Again, we haven't really nailed that process down yet, but we have discussed having some type of panel interview. Nothing, we don't want it to be too overly intimidating, so, 2 to 3 people would probably be what we would be looking at.
Julie, thank you for, again, bringing this opportunity to us. I think that your willingness to work with us and be a partner is telling of the commitment of the trades to move forward and be inclusive, and we appreciate that, and we look forward to being a partner. And thank you. Next, I'll bring up Keisha Hunley Jenkins. I kind of feel sad because we were working so closely together up to 2 months ago, and we still are working closely together. But now, actually, in building a partnership, a strong partnership between the city and the school district, and her engagement shows that the work that we've done over the last year and the commitment that she's made to our young boys in our community was not just because of her work, but because of her passion. And so she's continued that work, continued her commitment, and is using her role at the Columbus City Schools to further these goals. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Keisha Hunley Jenkins to talk about Columbus City Schools, their goals, and how we can continue to work together this year.
Good evening, everybody. So I have to say that I'm kind of sad that the council member is only kind of sad that he doesn't get to work with me every day. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be a part of this task force, and thank you all for your commitment. I know we've all been waiting a long time to see what's next, and I know we're all excited to jump back into the work. And sometimes it's really disheartening when we have to take a pause, but it gives us a moment to reflect. And so I think we've been able to bring our heads up a little bit and take a look around and see, some of the other things that we can leverage as a part of this work. So my role at the district now is to help out with mentoring. We have several community partners who do mentoring. Mentoring is, a very broad and dynamic definition. So different programs can come in at different times and be categorized as that. Our main goal really is, Dr. Good has a vision to ensure that every student has an opportunity to have a mentor. With that, again, we know that most of our students, or I'm not going to say most, but a lot of our students are engaged with other programs, so we want to have a better grasp of what that is, what are those resources that are available in our building, how can we leverage them and build upon them, and also how do we build the capacity of our existing organizations to really have the impact that we'd like to see. And that also requires a district to do some things differently, as in being able to crystallize and ask to the community and make sure that that ask is asked and followed up on. So that's sort of what we're moving to. In relation to My Brother's Keeper, in our mentoring world, currently we have 3 buckets of mentoring. We're just getting started this year, so our first directive was really to work with off-track seniors. So my team, Steve Stevenson and Greg Gillum, have been great. They've identified 5 high schools that we're working with this year to work with some of their seniors specifically. So we're currently in a process of recruiting for those different sites. We do have a web portal signed up. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that we send all of you that information later on. We just got that up this week, so we're excited about that. So that's our first bucket. What we intend to do in the spring is start to look down into the lower grades. So junior, sophomore, freshman, what are the criteria that would identify someone as being off track and can benefit from a mentor, so that over the summer we can be recruiting and training and matching people for those needs. Our commitment to you is that when we come to you, to be a very specific ask. You'll know the dates, times, locations. You'll know when the training session is going to be. You'll know everything that you need to know so that you walk in feeling ready to go. and have support throughout the process. So that's our first bucket, is off-track seniors for this year. Our second bucket is community connectors, which many of you may be familiar with. The district really hopes to work more closely with applicants going forward so that we can match them with schools and students during the actual application process, so that once it's approved, they can hit the ground running. Sometimes there's a bit of disconnect between the proposals that are submitted and funded and what's actually going to happen in the building. So we want to make sure to shore up that gap. And then lastly, the last bucket of mentoring that we have this year is called the My Brother's Keeper Success Mentor Initiative. And it's a secret, but Dr. Good talked about it, so I guess I can. There'll be a launch later next week in Miami, Florida, but the district was selected as one of 10 districts throughout the nation to help expand this pilot that was very successful in New York City. The goal of the program is to work with chronically absent 6th and 9th grade students. The reason why they do that is because in Columbus we have different grade configurations, but across the nation and even throughout the rest of Ohio, the typical grade configuration is K through 5, 6 through 8, 9 through 12. And we know that through data that 6th and 9th grades are the lowest attended, the most number of days are missed in those grades. And so this effort really targets that. Chronic absenteeism, for those of you who don't know, I didn't know, is defined as missing 10% of the school year. So in Columbus, that's 18 days. So if you miss just 2 days a month throughout the school year, if you've missed a month of school, whether it's excused or unexcused, so you are termed to be chronically absent. Across the nation, that average is about 10%. In districts and urbans, it's higher. In the district, ours was significantly higher than that last year. We know that showing up is the first step to getting assistance or getting to where you want to go. So I think it's something that is relevant from birth through death. You have to show up to get benefit, to learn, for all kinds of things. And so we're really excited about this program and that it brings a whole school approach to attack absenteeism and use school attendance as an academic driver rather than an issue of compliance. And then the other thing that I might get in trouble for talking about on tape is that we really want to see if we can develop a community-wide attendance campaign. Again, it's important for you to go to work, to go to the doctor, all the things that you need to do. You can't, showing up is the first step. And so we're currently exploring ways that we could partner to do that. Other nations, my goodness. Other cities around the country have done this and been very successful, and there's a role for everyone. So for our service providers, if it's not already, making sure that attendance not only to your program but to the school day is happening, to have those discussions, to really identify the underlying causes of absenteeism and try to reduce those barriers. So we're really excited because this is going to give the district an opportunity to partner more closely with folks who are doing great work in our community. For example, one of the 3 middle schools that we're working in for Success Mentors this year are Sherwood, Yorktown, and Boys Prep. And so at Sherwood, I was fortunate enough to get to attend their kickoff last week. And one of the mentors, they're using all of their staff to be mentors because it's so late in the year. You don't want to introduce someone new into a child's life so late in the year. But one teacher told me, I just had to do, they only asked us to take 1, but I had to do 2. One of them is a student that I've had a relationship with for a long time, and another is a student that it was just on my heart to work with her. And after my initial meeting, I found out from both of them, because sometimes it takes a while to find out what these underlying causes are, depending on why students are absent. But she said, in our first meeting, I learned that both of them are absent because their mothers are home health care aides. They work 3rd shift and they don't get home until after their daughters are supposed to be at school. And so whether or not the daughters get up, in middle school, if you're a 6th grader getting up to get yourself dressed to go at 7, at 6 something if your bus is coming. I don't know if that's realistic expectation of our children, but parents need to work. So what can we as a community do? Maybe they need an alarm clock. Maybe they need a call, a text. Maybe someone can knock on the door. We can't expect this teacher to do it all, but we certainly can wrap our arms around these children and make sure that they get to school. So that's a very simple example. I hope all of them are that easy. But that's something that we're looking forward to doing. Through this program, we have a commitment to reach every chronically absent 6th and 9th grader over the next 3 years. So we'll be leaning on our community partners heavily. And with that, all of this is connected. I think that we can all sit here and think of several programs to tie into MBK, and we absolutely should. What Julie's introduced to us today, that's 125 lives that are going to be changed, compounded by their families, and the impact felt in our community as a whole. But I think that, just as Rebecca was stating earlier, we have to have different pathways for different people. And I'm really excited that people around the table are so connected and have many different initiatives that we can work on together. So if you haven't heard me from me in a while, get ready, because I'm coming back. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Keisha. So again, what we heard this evening are two things. We heard a micro program, like Keisha said, that will reach and touch up to 120 folks, up to a macro program that is touching all youth in our district. What we can play as a convening organization or as a task force is that big overarching convener. How can MBK put our touch, our influence, our specific minds around how do we get young boys of color to succeed in these great programs that are happening all around our community? How can we leverage what we have around this table to support and to get to our goals that we outlined in our report last year? I think that we can do it. I think what it will take, though, is a commitment to the implementation now. We've done, like I said, the data, searching for data and pulling. Now we need a smaller, intense group to start to dig down, to look at how can we break down the barriers for this program? How can we look and partner with the district? And how can, as a co-chair of this committee, one of the things that I promised was that I would also help direct city resources to supporting My Brother's Keeper. I need help from a group to help us identify how we can use very finite resources to make these things have the biggest impact. And so I have an ask of you guys. If we think, because there were 10 other programs that I could have pulled forward tonight. Just to put Rocky on the spot, Rocky and I have had a conversation in the last year about the private sector. Mentorship, again, goes all the way to job readiness. You can't do something without seeing it first. The private sector is willing and ready and are having conversations to step up. All of these things, though, need one thing. Some folks to help start working towards making them happen. So what I'm asking for of this committee is a smaller group who will be able to meet on a little bit more regular basis, who can form this subcommittee, this implementation working group around mentorship and My Brother's Keeper, and where we can funnel some of these opportunities, and help us work to make them reality. There are more out there. There are resources out there, but my office, the mayor's office, us individually, we can't do it alone. We need this task force. I think there are unique viewpoints, experiences around this table. You guys have put in the work over the year, and so that's why I'm coming back to you guys first. I think that the opportunity is for you to sit on implementation. We will have to probably expand to other folks around the community to round out our implementation. But like I said, the promise that our work is just beginning, it really is a promise. We haven't even started the work, so we need the folks now who will step up even above and beyond what we've done so far, so that we can carry out this commitment we've made to the community. With that, I'll take any questions. I will be sending an email tomorrow around to the task force to ask if you would like to be on the subcommittee. If not, if you have a recommendation of someone that you think should be on the subcommittee, and we will follow up in a week or two with our first meeting. This probably is the most pressing, this program right here. So we need to get a few minds around the table to figure out how we make this a success, and we get a couple or all 20 guys into this program. But we have big picture stuff that we need folks thinking towards over here with the schools. There are opportunities with other funding organizations and institutions that we need to start kicking around in a concentrated group. So I need your guys' help. That is my ask. Again, thank you so much for the work that you've done to get us to this point. I am extremely grateful. Yeah, I'll take any questions. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Woodley. I'm a resident of the state. And my question is, how do you guys plan on promoting this to the colleges? Because if I was not your mentee, Councilman Hall, there would be no way that I would know about this program. And from just hearing that what you guys are talking about, this program seems like something that is very, very beneficial to a lot of college students.
Certainly.
At Columbus State.
Just to piggyback off that question.
Sure.
Asking what are some of the partnerships that are already existing with colleges in the city and around the state. Only because I agree the fact that the resources in colleges are so profound. You have a group of students who are forced to be somewhere for at least 4 years,
Right.
and they're forced to get credit hours. They're forced to, get these hours that they have to serve. So they really don't have a choice, And in that space, there's
It's a trove of opportunity.
so much opportunity. So
Yeah.
what are some of the partnerships that are already existing, and then some partnerships that you would hope to exist?
I think that we have to leverage some things that are going on already. I know at OSU has a pretty cool several mentorship programs that we need to pull into engage. I think this is the work of the implementation group, truthfully. I'm putting a lot of pressure and a lot of work, but I plan on being an active member of this implementation group. When I tell you there are, so go back to your question first, how do we engage the larger community? Well, first, we need to, what I wanted to do was come to you guys first as the task force to see if this was even the right direction. If can we agree that we think that we can come together and talk about mold the conversation around our community around mentorship. One of the things that I'm very, very proud of, and I don't know if you guys understood it last year, but because of what happened in this room and some other things, leverage conversations, young boys of color was a talking point throughout the community for the entire year. So much so that when we released our report in October and we had to take the break to get back to work, the community kind of went crazy, like, well, what's next, what's next, what's next? There's so much power and energy and momentum going on that I wanted you guys to have that buy-in before we went back to the community. So I envision after the implementation group meets time or two, going back to the community, having a conversation very similar to the rollout that we had of the task force of the report in October, and very similar to the first initial meeting we had over a year ago in December at the King Arts Complex, where we talk about mentorship, when we pull some other folks in and talk about how large community groups can be engaged. I promise to get everybody out by 7 o'clock.
I do want to say just one more thing.
One more question.
And on that, just so that everyone is aware, the United Way has also chosen to focus on males of color for 2016 as well. So their Champion of Children event, all of their events this year will be focused on the same subject matter. So it doesn't get to the heart of your question. There's a lot that we can do with colleges. I was just talking with Tim before we started about Dr. Aldama at OSU, who runs the Laser Group, and he has over 200 mentors, college mentors who want to work with Columbus City school students to mentor them to and through college. That as Latinos, there's not great representation on our campuses, both staff and faculty and students for them to look up to. So that model that he has hubs all over the city, is something that we can look to be additive to. He's already shared to help out with mentor training and things like that. So to your point, it's a matter of identifying what's already out here and how do we leverage that and market it to you all. And we'll be looking for your input to that too. I don't know what is sexy to you all when it comes to recruiting, so that's something that we need to find out.
Thank you.